I'm sitting in Detective Maria Ramirez's office at the Westfield Police Department, and my husband is telling her I'm having a mental breakdown. His voice is calm, concerned, the voice of a man worried about his unstable wife, the voice of a liar. She's been paranoid for months, Marcus says, leaning forward with his elbows on his knees, the picture of a devoted husband at his wit's end, accusing me of things that never happened, following me, going through my phone. I think she needs professional help, not police involvement. Detective Ramirez looks at me. She's maybe 45, with gray streaks in her dark hair and eyes that have seen everything. Mrs. Chen, why don't you tell me your side? My hands are shaking, so I clasp them together in my lap. He's been drugging me. For at least 3 months, maybe longer. I have evidence. Marcus actually laughs. It's a sad, pitying sound. This is what I'm talking about. She thinks I'm poisoning her. I didn't say poisoning. My voice is steadier than I feel. I said drugging. There's a difference. Why would I drug my own wife? Marcus spreads his hands, the gesture of an innocent man. What would I possibly gain from that? Detective Ramirez holds up one hand. Let's slow down. Mrs. Chen, what makes you think your husband has been drugging you? I pull out my phone and open the folder I've been building for 6 weeks. I started having blackouts. Losing time. I'd be making dinner, and then suddenly it would be 3 hours later, and I'd be in bed with no memory of the gap. It happened at least twice a week. Memory problems can be caused by stress, lack of sleep. Marcus starts, but Detective Ramirez cuts him off. Let her finish. At first I thought I was going crazy. Marcus kept telling me I was just tired, working too hard. I scrolled to a photo. But then I found this, in our medicine cabinet, hidden behind the shampoo bottles. I hold up my phone. The image shows a prescription bottle labeled Ambien, but it's not in my name. It's in the name of Sarah Mitchell, a name I've never heard before. Marcus goes very still. I don't know where that came from. Maybe someone left it at our house? Sarah Mitchell is your dental hygienist, I say quietly. The one at Dr. Palmer's office on Oak Street. I called them yesterday. She quit 6 months ago and moved to Arizona, but somehow her prescription bottle is in our bathroom. This is ridiculous. And then there's this. I swipe to the next photo. It's my coffee mug from this morning before I left for work. Marcus made coffee like he does every morning, brought it to me in bed like he's done for 10 years. But this morning I didn't drink it. I poured it into a thermos and took it to CVS Pharmacy. I had the coffee tested at a lab. There's Ambien in it. A lot of it. Enough to make someone drowsy and confused. Enough to cause blackouts. The room goes quiet. Detective Ramirez takes my phone and studies the photos. Marcus is staring at me like he's never seen me before. Where's the thermos now? The detective asks. In my car. I can get it. Please do. And Mr. Chen, I'm going to need you to wait here. I walk out to the parking lot on legs that feel like water. The February air is cold and sharp, and I breathe it in, trying to stay calm. This is it. This is the moment I've been working toward for 6 weeks. Ever since I woke up in my car in the grocery store parking lot with no memory of driving there. I retrieve the thermos and the CVS lab report from my trunk, along with the file folder I've been keeping. Everything documented, everything dated. When I return, Detective Ramirez has been joined by another detective, a man who introduces himself as Detective James Walsh. Mrs. Chen, can you walk us through when you first noticed something was wrong? Detective Walsh has a notepad open. I sit back down, not looking at Marcus. It started in November, 3 months ago. I began having episodes where I'd lose time. An hour here, 2 hours there. I'd find myself in rooms with no memory of getting there. I'd have conversations Marcus claimed we had, but I couldn't remember them at all. She was stressed. Marcus interrupts. Her mother had just died. She was grieving. Anyone would be forgetful. My mother did die in October. And yes, I was grieving, which made it so easy to doubt myself. I thought it was grief, I continue. Marcus kept saying it was normal, that I just needed rest. But it kept getting worse. I'd wake up in the morning exhausted, like I hadn't slept at all. I'd find things moved in the house, my keys in different places, my phone with apps open that I didn't remember using. And Marcus always had an explanation. I was sleepwalking. I was having grief-related insomnia. I was stressed about work. All of which could be true, Marcus says. His voice has an edge now. Detective, my wife has been through a trauma. Losing a parent is devastating. Is it really surprising that she's struggling? When did you start suspecting your husband? Detective Ramirez asked me, 3 weeks ago. I woke up in the middle of the night, and Marcus wasn't in bed. I got up to look for him and found him in the kitchen, crushing pills. White pills, using the back of a spoon against the cutting board. I can still see it, the careful, practiced motion of his hand. When he saw me, he said he was making a sleep aid for himself, that he'd been having trouble sleeping. But I saw how startled he looked. Guilty. That's not... I was making... Marcus runs his hand through his hair. I was crushing aspirin. I had a headache. Aspirin doesn't need to be crushed to work, I point out. And when I checked the trash the next morning, there was no evidence of aspirin. But there was residue on the cutting board. White powder, Detective Walsh leans forward. What did you do then? I started pretending to drink my coffee every morning. Marcus always makes it and brings it to me. It's something he's done since we got married. His way of being sweet. But instead of drinking it, I'd pour it in a travel mug and dump it out at work. And suddenly I stopped having blackouts. The memory problems stopped. The lost time stopped. I look at Marcus. Everything stopped as soon as I stopped drinking the coffee he made me. Marcus is shaking his head. This is insane. You're making it sound like I'm some kind of villain. I love you, Nina. I've been taking care of you. Why? The word comes out sharp. Why have you been drugging me, Marcus? What do you get out of it? I haven't... The life insurance, Detective Ramirez says quietly. She's been looking at her computer screen. You increased your wife's life insurance policy 4 months ago, from $100,000 to $500,000. The room temperature seems to drop 10 degrees. I stare at Marcus, and something in his expression shifts. The concerned husband act slips, just for a second, and I see something cold underneath. That was a financial planning decision, he says. We talked about it, Nina agreed. I don't remember agreeing to that, but even as I say it, doubt creeps in. Did I agree to something during one of my blackouts? Did he have me sign papers while I was drugged? You were there when the agent came to the house. You signed the paperwork. Marcus's voice is firm now, confident. You just don't remember because you were having one of your episodes. What agent? Detective Walsh asks. Do you have the name of the insurance company? Marcus hesitates, and in that hesitation I know. There was no agent. He forged my signature, or he had me sign while I was unconscious, or... I want to talk to a lawyer, Marcus says suddenly. I'm not saying anything else without a lawyer present. Detective Ramirez nods slowly. That's your right. But Mr. Chen, we're going to need you to stay while we sort this out. Mrs. Chen has made serious allegations, and we have what appears to be evidence of a crime. What crime? Making coffee for my wife? But his voice cracks on the last word. Administering drugs without consent. Fraud. Possibly attempted murder, depending on what our investigation turns up. Detective Walsh stands. We'll need to search your home, your vehicles, your workplace. We'll need to interview friends, family, coworkers. If you've done nothing wrong, you have nothing to worry about. Marcus looks at me then, really looks at me, and I see him calculating, trying to figure out how much I know, how much I can prove, what his next move should be. It's the look of someone who's been caught but thinks he can still talk his way out. Nina, he says softly, please don't do this. We can work this out. We can go to counseling. You tried to kill me. My voice doesn't shake anymore. For 6 months, you've been drugging me, making me think I was losing my mind, gaslighting me into believing I was crazy. All for what? Life insurance money? I never tried to kill you. The words explode out of him. I needed you to be more manageable. You're always questioning everything, always in control. I just needed you to be quieter for a while so I could... He stops abruptly, but it's too late. The confession is out there, hanging in the air between us. So you could what? Detective Ramirez prompts. Marcus closes his mouth. Won't answer. But I already know. I figured it out 2 days ago when I went through our bank statements and found the withdrawals. $3,000 here, $5,000 there. Small enough not to trigger alerts, but adding up to nearly $50,000 over 6 months. So you could drain our accounts, I say quietly. That's what this was about. You needed me confused and compliant while you stole our savings. The look on his face tells me I'm right. Detective Walsh nods to someone I can't see, and a uniformed officer appears at the door. Mr. Chen, we're going to need you to come with us. We have more questions, and we need to secure your belongings. Am I under arrest? Not yet, but we're detaining you for questioning. Detective Ramirez stands. Mrs. Chen, we're going to need you to make a formal statement, and we'll need access to your home to collect evidence. I nod, numb. This is real. This is actually happening. My husband of 10 years tried to drug me, steal from me, possibly kill me, and I caught him. Over the next 3 hours, I give my statement. I hand over the thermos, the lab report, the photos of the Ambien bottle. I provide bank statements showing the missing money. I give them the names of friends who've commented on how out of it I've seemed lately. I tell them about the life insurance policy I don't remember agreeing to. Detective Ramirez is gentle but thorough. Mrs. Chen, I need to ask, did you ever suspect infidelity? Sometimes when people drug their spouses, there's another relationship involved. I think about that. Were there signs? He's been distant, I admit. But I thought it was because of my mother's death. Because I was grieving. He seemed supportive, but removed, like he was waiting for something. Waiting for you to die, Detective Walsh says bluntly, or to become so incapacitated that he could have you institutionalized and take control of everything. The words hit like a physical blow. That was the plan. Make me seem crazy. Make me seem incompetent. Take everything I'd worked for. I want to go home, I say suddenly. I need to see what he's done to our house. We have a team there now, Detective Ramirez says. You can't go back until they've finished processing it as a crime scene. Do you have somewhere you can stay? I call my sister Lynn, who lives 40 minutes away. She answers on the second ring. Nina? What's wrong? Can I stay with you for a few days? My voice finally breaks. Marcus, I can't talk about it on the phone. Can I just come over? Of course, come now. I'll make up the guest room. Lynn's house is warm and chaotic, filled with the noise of her 3 kids and the smell of something baking. She takes one look at my face and sends the kids to the basement playroom, then sits me down at her kitchen table with tea I don't drink. Tell me everything. So I do. The blackouts, the crushed pills, the coffee, the lab results, the police station. Lynn listens with growing horror, her hand over her mouth. Oh my God, Nina. Why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you say something? Because I thought I was crazy. The tears come now, hot and angry. He made me think I was losing my mind. Every time I questioned something, he had an answer that made sense. Every time I felt suspicious, he made me feel guilty for not trusting him. He's been gaslighting me for months, and I fell for it. You didn't fall for anything. You survived. Lynn grabs my hand across the table. You figured it out. You gathered evidence. You went to the police. You saved yourself, but did I? I think about the missing money, the forged insurance policy, the months of my life I lost to drug-induced confusion. How much damage did he do before I woke up? My phone buzzes. A text from an unknown number. You're going to regret this. You have no idea what you've done. I show Lynn, and she immediately calls Detective Ramirez. Within 20 minutes, 2 officers arrive at Lynn's house to provide protection and trace the number. It's from a burner phone, purchased with cash at a gas station. Untraceable. But the threat is documented. He's panicking, one of the officers says. That's good for us. Panicked people make mistakes. That night I can't sleep. I lie in Lynn's guest bed and replay the past 10 years. When did it start to go wrong? Was Marcus always capable of this, or did something change? Were there warning signs I missed? I think back to when we met, at a conference in Chicago. He was wrong. 2 years after the trial, I'm standing in my own office. Not a cubicle, not someone else's space. My own office with my name on the door. Nina Chen, Fraud Recovery Specialist. The consulting business I started has grown beyond anything I imagined. I have 3 employees, a client list that includes 2 Fortune 500 companies, and a reputation for being able to spot financial manipulation that others miss. Turns out, surviving attempted murder by your spouse makes you really good at identifying patterns of deception. My assistant, Jenna, knocks on the open door. Your 3 o'clock is here. The woman from the domestic violence shelter? Send her in. The woman who enters is maybe 30, with nervous eyes and a bruise fading on her left wrist. She sits down carefully, like she's not sure she's allowed to take up space. Thank you for seeing me, she says quietly. I read your book. I think my husband is doing what yours did. The drugging, the gaslighting, everything. My chest tightens with familiar anger, not at her, but at the fact that this keeps happening. Tell me everything. Start from the beginning. Over the next hour, she lays out a story that's eerily similar to mine. The blackouts, the memory loss, the husband who's always so concerned, so helpful, so ready with explanations, the financial irregularities she's starting to notice. Do you still live with him? I ask when she finishes. Yes. I don't have anywhere else to go. My family is 3 states away, and he controls all the money. Okay. First things first. I pull out a checklist I've developed over 2 years of doing this work. We're going to set up a separate bank account in your name only. You're going to start diverting portions of your paycheck there. Small amounts he won't notice. We're going to get you a burner phone so you can communicate safely. And we're going to start documenting everything. But what if he finds out? What if he gets angry? That's why we have to be strategic. No confrontation until you're ready to leave, and until we have enough evidence to protect you legally. I lean forward. I'm not going to lie to you. This is going to be hard. It's going to be scary. But you can do this. I did it. Hundreds of women I've worked with did it. And you're already further ahead than I was because you recognized the pattern early. She nods, and I see determination replacing some of the fear in her eyes. One more thing, I add. Do not under any circumstances eat or drink anything he prepares. Make your own food. Drink bottled water you open yourself. If he asks why, say you're on a new health kick. Be casual about it. Don't give him reason to escalate. How long did it take you? From realizing what was happening to getting out? 6 weeks. But I had advantages. I had my sister nearby, I had savings he didn't know about, and I got lucky with the timing of catching him crushing pills. I pull out a folder with resources. Here's a list of lawyers who specialize in abuse cases, shelters that can take you on short notice, and therapists who understand trauma. Keep these somewhere safe. Memorize the important numbers in case you need to leave quickly. After she leaves, I sit for a moment, processing. This is the 17th woman I've helped this year. 17. And those are just the ones who found me, who had the courage to reach out. How many more are out there? Being drugged and gaslit and manipulated, thinking they're going crazy. My phone rings. It's Patricia Velasquez, my lawyer from the trial. Nina, I have news. Remember how we filed a civil suit against Marcus for damages? The one his lawyer said was pointless because he has no assets? That one. Well, turns out Marcus had a hidden investment account. His parents' money. We found it through discovery. The judge just ruled in your favor. You're getting $250,000 in damages. I nearly dropped the phone. What? Plus his pension from his engineering job gets redirected to you for the next 10 years. It's not everything you lost, but it's something. And it sends a message. You can't try to murder your wife and keep your money. After we hang up, I just sit, absorbing the news. $250,000. Enough to expand my business, to help more women, to create a foundation maybe. Enough to turn Marcus's evil into something that helps people. I call Lynn. You're not going to believe this. Try me. This year has been insane already. I tell her about the settlement and she screams so loud I have to pull the phone away. Nina, oh my God. This is perfect. This is karma in its purest form. I'm thinking about starting a foundation, something that helps abuse victims document evidence, get legal help, escape safely. All the things I wished existed when I was going through it. That's perfect. That's so you. Lynn's voice gets emotional. Mom really would be so proud. You took the worst thing that ever happened to you and turned it into something that saves people. That night, I'm working late when Detective Ramirez calls. We've stayed in touch over the years. She's become a friend, in the way that people who go through trauma together often do. Saw the news about your settlement, she says. Couldn't have happened to a better person, or a worse person, depending on which of you we're talking about. I laugh. How's the detective business? Good. Actually, that's partly why I'm calling. We arrested someone today, husband who was drugging his wife. She came in with a coffee sample and lab results, said she got the idea from your case. We're building the same kind of evidence file you helped us develop. Is she okay? She's safe. Scared, but safe. And because we've done this before, because you pioneered the roadmap, we know exactly how to proceed. You probably saved her life, Nina. Indirectly, but still. After we hang up, I think about that. How many lives has my case touched? The woman who came in today. The one Detective Ramirez just helped. The 17 I've personally consulted with. The thousands who've read my book. The hundreds who've heard me speak. Marcus tried to erase me. Instead, I've multiplied myself into an army of survivors who refuse to be silenced. 3 years after the trial, I'm back in Westfield for a special occasion. The police department is hosting a training seminar on recognizing and documenting spousal poisoning cases, and they've asked me to speak. It's surreal being back in the building where I first told my story, this time as an expert, rather than a victim. Detective Ramirez introduces me to a room full of officers and detectives. Nina Chen is the reason we completely overhauled our approach to domestic poisoning cases. Her meticulous documentation, her courage in coming forward, and her strategic thinking gave us a template that we now teach across the state. She saved lives, not just her own. I talk about the importance of taking victims seriously, of understanding that gaslighting makes them doubt themselves, of knowing what evidence to look for. I show them the lab report that saved my life, the notebook Marcus kept, the text messages that proved conspiracy. The most important thing, I tell them, is to believe the victim. When I walked in here 3 years ago, I was terrified you'd think I was paranoid or attention-seeking. Instead, you took me seriously. You investigated, you built a case, and you saved my life. That's what every officer in this room has the power to do. During the Q&A, a young officer asks, "How do you deal with the trauma? The knowledge that someone you loved tried to kill you?" "Therapy," I say honestly. Lots of therapy, and I channeled it into purpose. I couldn't just survive and move on. I needed my survival to mean something. So I help other people survive. That gives me a reason to keep going on the hard days. After the training, I drive past my old house. There's a new family living there now. I can see toys in the yard, a minivan in the driveway. They have no idea what happened in that kitchen, where Marcus crushed pills and measured poisons. Maybe that's better. The house gets to have a new story. My apartment, I still think of it as temporary even after 3 years, is across town in a modern building with a doorman and security cameras. I still check my locks multiple times. I still can't drink coffee someone else makes. The trauma has left permanent marks. Small rituals of self-protection that Dr. Kim says may never fully go away. But I'm okay with that. Those rituals keep me safe. They remind me to trust my instincts. They honor the woman who saved herself by paying attention to what felt wrong. That evening, I'm making dinner, something I now find meditative. The act of preparing food I know is safe. When my phone rings. A known number, I answer cautiously. "Nina Chen? Yes? This is Sarah Kim. Not your therapist Sarah Kim, different person. I'm a producer for Netflix. We're developing a documentary series about women who survived attempted murder by their partners. Your case came up multiple times in our research. Would you be interested in participating?" I think about it. A Netflix documentary means millions of viewers. It means my story reaching people who would never read a book or attend a conference. It means saving more lives. What would participation involve? Interviews, access to court documents and evidence, maybe some reenactments if you're comfortable. We'd want to tell the whole story. The gaslighting, the investigation, the trial, your advocacy work after. Show the journey from victim to survivor to advocate. I need to think about it. Can you send me more details? She does, and I spend the next week considering. Lynn thinks I should do it. Patricia warns me it will reopen old wounds. Dr. Kim says I'm strong enough to handle it, but only if I want to. In the end, I say yes, because every time I share my story, someone else recognizes their own. Every time I talk about gaslighting, someone realizes they're not crazy. Every time I explain the signs, someone starts documenting, and that's worth any discomfort. The documentary films over 6 months. They interview me, Lynn, Detective Ramirez, Patricia, Dr. Kim, even some of the jury members from the trial. They get court footage, photos of the evidence, Marcus's mugshots. They interview other survivors who were inspired by my case. When Poisoned, the Nina Chen story premieres a year later, I host a viewing party at my office. 30 people pack into our conference room. Employees, friends, survivors I've helped, advocates from local organizations. We watch together, and I see my story through their eyes. The documentary is hard to watch. Seeing Marcus on screen, hearing his voice, reliving those months of confusion and fear, it brings everything back. But it also shows the truth undeniably. The evidence is overwhelming. His guilt is absolute, and my survival is triumphant. The final scene shows me at work, helping a client build her case against her abusive husband. The voiceover is me. Marcus thought drugging me would make me disappear. Instead, it gave me a purpose. Every person I help, every case I work, every speech I give, that's me refusing to disappear. That's me turning poison into power. And that's something he can never take away. The documentary goes viral within days. It trends on social media, spawns think pieces about coercive control and spousal abuse, prompts discussions about believing victims. The National Domestic Violence Hotline reports a 40% spike in calls the week after it airs. My phone doesn't stop ringing. Interview requests, speaking invitations, women asking for help. I hire 2 more consultants to handle the increased demand. The foundation I've been planning, the Nina Chen Foundation for Abuse Survivors, becomes a reality, funded by donations that pour in after the documentary. 6 months after the documentary, I'm invited to testify before a congressional committee about domestic violence and the need for better training for law enforcement. I sit at a table in front of cameras and senators and tell my story one more time. What Marcus did to me happens more often than we want to believe, I tell them. Spousal drugging, financial abuse, gaslighting, these are tools of control that often escalate to murder. We need better training for police, better resources for victims, better laws to protect people before they end up dead. My case ended with justice because I was lucky, because I had resources, because I caught him in time. Not everyone is so lucky. We need to change that. The committee passes new legislation mandating training for law enforcement on recognizing coercive control and spousal poisoning. It's called the Nina Chen Act. My name is now attached to a law that will protect people for generations. 5 years after the trial, I'm standing in a bookstore in Seattle for the launch of my second book, Beyond Survival, Turning Trauma into Purpose. The line of people waiting for signed copies wraps around the block. Each person has a story. Some are survivors, some are advocates, some are just people who want to understand. A woman approaches my signing table with tears in her eyes. You saved my life. I saw your documentary, recognized what was happening to me, and got out. My ex-husband is in prison now. I'm free because you taught me to trust myself. These moments, they're why I do this. Every speaking engagement, every consultation, every interview. Because somewhere, someone is being gaslit and drugged and told they're crazy. And maybe, just maybe, they'll hear my story and realize they're not. My phone buzzes. A text from Lynn. Turn on the news. They're announcing the verdict in the Sophie Brennan parole hearing. I pull up a live stream on my phone. Sophie, after serving 5 years, applied for early parole. The parole board is announcing their decision. Parole denied. Ms. Brennan showed insufficient remorse and continues to minimize her role in the conspiracy. She will be eligible to reapply in 3 years. Good. Let her serve her full sentence. Let her face the full consequences of helping Marcus try to murder me. That night, back in my hotel room, I video call Lynn and her kids. They're having dinner, and the chaos of 3 teenagers talking over each other makes me smile. Aunt Nina, my nephew Jake, waves at the screen. Mom says you're famous now. Not famous, just visible. You're famous, Lynn corrects. You're literally trending on Twitter right now. Someone made you into a meme about believing women. I pull up Twitter and laugh. There's an image of me from the documentary with text overlay. She tested her coffee, gathered evidence, called the police, and sent him to prison. Trust women. It's been shared 200,000 times. That's surreal, I mutter. That's impact, Lynn says. You've changed the conversation, Nina. People take drugging seriously now. They believe victims. They understand gaslighting. That's because of you. After we hang up, I think about the woman I was 5 years ago, sitting in Detective Ramirez's office with shaking hands and a thermos of coffee. That woman was terrified, uncertain, convinced she might be crazy. She had no idea she was about to start a movement. I think about Marcus in his prison cell, 17 more years ahead of him. Does he regret it? Does he understand what he took from me and what he inadvertently gave me? Does he see the documentary and realize he didn't destroy me? He forged me into something stronger? Probably not. People like Marcus don't reflect that deeply. They're too busy being victims of their own consequences. My laptop dings with a new email. The subject line reads, "Thank you for saving my daughter." I open it. It's from a woman in Ohio whose daughter was being drugged by her boyfriend. The daughter saw my documentary, recognized the signs, and got tested. The boyfriend is now facing charges. "She's safe because you were brave," the mother writes. "I will never be able to thank you enough." I save the email in a folder I keep labeled, "Why I Do This." There are hundreds of messages in there now. Lives saved, cases won, abusers imprisoned. Each one represents someone who didn't have to die, who didn't have to disappear, who got to survive. 7 years after Marcus first started crushing pills in our kitchen, I'm keynoting a United Nations conference on gender-based violence. The room is full of delegates from dozens of countries, advocates, survivors, policymakers. I tell my story, and I see it resonating across cultural and language barriers. Abuse looks different in different contexts, I tell them, but the core is always the same. One person trying to control another, trying to erase them, trying to take their power. My power was my ability to trust myself, to document what was happening, to get help. Every survivor has that power. Our job as a society is to make sure they know it exists and can access it safely. The standing ovation lasts 5 minutes. Afterwards, a woman from Kenya approaches me. "In my country, women are often not believed when they report abuse. Your story shows why we must change that. I am bringing your strategies back to train our police force." That night, alone in my hotel room in Geneva, I look out at the city lights and think about the trajectory of my life. From accountant to attempted murder victim to international advocate. It's a strange path, one I never would have chosen. But here I am, changing laws and saving lives. My phone rings. It's Patricia. "Nina, you sitting down? Should I be worried?" "No, actually opposite. Marcus's parents just settled the wrongful death suit." "What wrongful death suit?" "I'm not dead." "Attempted wrongful death? Is that a thing?" Patricia laughs. "Anyway, they're acknowledging that they knew Marcus had financial problems and still gave him access to family accounts. Civil negligence. They're paying an additional $500,000 in damages." I nearly drop the phone. "Are you serious?" "Dead serious. The money will be transferred to the foundation. You can help a lot of people with that." After we hang up, I sit in the darkness of the hotel room, processing. Marcus's family money, the money that made him feel entitled to everything, including my life, is now going to fund an organization that protects abuse victims. The poetic justice of it is almost too perfect. I pull up the foundation's website on my laptop. In 3 years, we've helped 847 women escape abusive situations. We've funded legal representation for 200 cases. We've trained 5,000 law enforcement officers. And now, with this new funding, we can double our reach. Marcus wanted to erase me for money. Instead, his money is erasing abuse. 10 years after the trial, I'm standing in front of a different courthouse. This one is in Connecticut, where a bill I helped draft is being signed into law. The governor invited me to the ceremony. The Nina Chen Spousal Protection Act, the governor announces, requires mandatory testing for date rape drugs and sedatives in any case where spousal abuse is suspected. It provides funding for victims to access lab testing without cost. And it mandates training for medical professionals to recognize the signs of coercive drugging. This law will save lives. I'm asked to say a few words. I talk about the $75 I paid for that lab test that saved my life, and how many women can't afford even that. I talk about the importance of believing victims and giving them the tools to prove what they know to be true. 10 years ago, my husband tried to erase me, I conclude. He failed. Instead, I'm here, standing in front of you, as proof that victims can become survivors, can become advocates, can become changemakers. Every person being drugged right now, every person being gaslit and manipulated, they have that same power. Our job is to make sure they know it and can access it. This law does that. This law honors every person who didn't survive and protects every person who hasn't been victimized yet. Thank you for making it real. The applause echoes through the courthouse. News cameras capture the moment. By evening, clips of my speech are circulating online, sparking new conversations about coercive control. That night, I'm having dinner with Lynn and her family, now grown, her youngest in college, when my phone buzzes with a notification. It's from the prison system. Marcus is up for parole. He's been in for 10 years, Lynn says, reading over my shoulder. Do you think they'll let him out? Not if I have anything to say about it. I write a victim impact statement for his parole hearing. I detail the ongoing trauma, the years of therapy, the permanent changes to how I live my life. I explain that Marcus has never shown genuine remorse, never taken responsibility beyond what he had to admit in court. I argue that 10 years isn't enough for attempting to murder your spouse in such a calculated, sustained way. The parole board denies his request. He'll serve his full sentence. 12 years after the coffee that changed everything, I'm retiring from active consulting. At 57, I've helped over 2,000 women escape abuse, trained tens of thousands of law enforcement officers, and changed laws in 17 states. The foundation runs itself now, led by a brilliant executive director who was herself a survivor. I'm not disappearing. I'll still do keynote speeches, still write, still advocate. But the day-to-day work of building cases and documenting evidence, I'm passing that to the next generation. At my retirement party, Detective Ramirez, now retired herself, gives a toast. Nina Chen walked into my office 12 years ago with a thermos of coffee and a story I wasn't sure I believed. But she had evidence. She had documentation. She had undeniable proof, and she changed everything, not just for herself, but for every victim who came after her. To Nina, the woman who turned poison into power. We drink, and I look around the room at all the people whose lives intersected with mine because of Marcus's attempt to kill me. Survivors I've helped, now thriving, advocates who learned from my case, law enforcement officers who take drugging seriously because of what I taught them, lawyers who know how to build these cases, journalists who cover these stories with sensitivity. Marcus tried to erase me. Instead, I've multiplied myself into thousands of people doing this work, carrying this mission forward. The next morning, I wake up in my apartment, still the same one from 12 years ago, because I've learned that safety matters more than space, and make myself coffee. My own coffee, from beans I ground myself, in a machine I control completely. It's a small thing, making my own coffee, but it's also everything. It's proof that I survived. It's proof that I took back control. It's proof that the woman Marcus tried to drug into oblivion is still here, still strong, still fighting. I drink the coffee slowly, savoring it. Then I open my laptop and start writing, because there's always another story to tell, another person to help, another life to save. Marcus is in prison, Sophie is in prison, and I'm here, free and thriving and using my voice to protect others. That's not just survival. That's victory. Charming, attentive, successful. A software engineer with his own consulting business. We dated for 2 years before getting married, and everything seemed perfect. Maybe too perfect. Maybe I should have questioned why everything was always so easy with him. Why he never argued, never pushed back, always agreed with what I wanted. Now I understand. He was playing a role, the perfect husband, and I was so caught up in having found someone who seemed so right that I never looked deeper. My phone buzzes again. Another text. The cops can't protect you forever. Think about that. I forward it to Detective Ramirez, then block the number. But 2 minutes later, another text from a different number. You're making a mistake. Drop the charges and I'll make this all go away. I'm being terrorized by my own husband from inside a police station. The thought would be funny if it wasn't so terrifying. The next morning, Detective Ramirez calls. We executed a search warrant on your home. You should come down to the station. There's something you need to see. At the police station, she leads me to a conference room where evidence bags are laid out on a table. Inside them, 5 more prescription bottles with different names, all for sleep aids and anxiety medications. A notebook with dates and dosages written in Marcus's handwriting. A burner phone with text messages to someone saved as S. We found these hidden in the garage, Detective Walsh explains. In a toolbox in the back, the notebook documents every time he drugged you over the past 6 months. He was tracking dosages, timing, your reactions. I stare at the notebook, my stomach churning. He documented it, like I was an experiment. And the texts? My voice sounds hollow. To a woman named Sophie Brennan. She works at his company. The messages... Detective Ramirez hesitates. They're explicit. It appears they've been in a relationship for about 8 months, and she knew about the drugging. She pulls up the messages on a tablet. I read them, each one worse than the last. Marcus. Gave her a double dose tonight. She's out cold, Sophie. Good. Means we can talk longer. Miss you, Marcus. Soon. Just need a few more months. The insurance policy process is in May. After that, it's just a matter of time. Sophie. You promise this is really happening? I'm tired of waiting, Marcus. I promise. She'll be gone by summer. Then it's just us, gone by summer. He was planning to kill me. Not just steal from me, not just drug me. Actually kill me. We've brought Sophie Brennan in for questioning, Detective Walsh says. She's claiming she didn't know what Marcus meant by these messages, that she thought he was just talking about divorce. But given the context and the evidence, we believe she was complicit. What happens now? I can barely get the words out. Marcus Chen is being charged with attempted murder, assault, fraud, making terroristic threats, and conspiracy. Sophie Brennan is being charged as an accessory. With the evidence we have, the drugs, the notebook, the texts, the financial records, this case is solid. Detective Ramirez looks at me with something like admiration. You did everything right, Mrs. Chen. You documented. You went to a lab. You came to us with evidence. You saved your own life. But I don't feel like a hero. I feel like someone who just discovered the past 10 years of her life were a lie. The arraignment happens 2 days later. I sit in the courtroom and watch Marcus in an orange jumpsuit stand before the judge. Sophie is beside him, also in jail clothes. She won't look at me. Marcus stares straight ahead. The prosecutor, a sharp woman named Alice Thornton, lays out the charges. The evidence. The plan to kill me for insurance money. The systematic drugging over months. The conspiracy with his mistress. Marcus's lawyer tries to argue for bail. Your Honor, my client has no criminal record. He's a respected member of the community. Flight risk is minimal. Your client is charged with attempted murder of his wife, the judge says dryly, and he's already made threats from custody. Bail is denied. Trial date will be set for May 15th. 3 months away. 3 months of my life in limbo while I wait for justice. As they're leading Marcus out, he turns and looks at me. His mouth moves, shaping words I can't hear, but I can read his lips. You'll regret this. I hold his gaze and mouth back. I already regret marrying you. The weeks that follow are a blur of lawyers, police interviews, and journalists. The story makes the local news. Woman discovers husband's murder plot through coffee drug test. I become a minor celebrity, which is the last thing I want. But Detective Ramirez says the publicity helps. It puts pressure on Marcus and Sophie to take a plea deal, and it alerts other potential victims that this kind of thing can happen. I move into my own apartment, a small 1-bedroom in a secure building downtown. Lynn helps me move my things from the house I can never live in again, the house where Marcus drugged me every morning and tracked my reactions in a notebook. We put it on the market and it sells within a week. I take the money and put it in a new account Marcus can't access. The bank returns some of the stolen money. Turns out Marcus wasn't as careful as he thought, and they can trace where it went. Not all of it, but about $30,000. It's something. I go to therapy twice a week. Dr. Sarah Kim specializes in trauma and gaslighting victims. She helps me understand that what Marcus did wasn't just attempted murder, it was psychological torture. He made you doubt your own mind, she explains in one session. That's one of the cruelest things one person can do to another. But you trusted yourself enough to investigate. That takes incredible strength. I don't feel strong. I feel broken and paranoid. I throw away every coffee maker I own. I can't eat anything I haven't prepared myself. I check my lock 17 times a night. But Dr. Kim says that's normal, that it will get better. 2 weeks before the trial, Marcus's lawyer contacts mine. They want to make a deal. Marcus will plead guilty to assault and fraud if the attempted murder charge is dropped. Absolutely not, I tell my lawyer, a fierce woman named Patricia Velasquez. He was planning to kill me. That's attempted murder. The prosecutor agrees, Patricia says. We're pushing forward with trial. But you should know it's going to be brutal. They're going to attack your credibility, claim you've misunderstood everything, paint you as a paranoid wife inventing a conspiracy. Let them try. I have evidence. The trial starts on a warm day in May. I dress carefully in a navy suit, my hair pulled back, minimal makeup. I want to look credible, composed, strong. Not like the drugged, confused woman Marcus tried to make me. The prosecution presents their case methodically. The lab reports showing Ambien in the coffee, the prescription bottles with fake names, the notebook documenting dosages, the text messages between Marcus and Sophie discussing my elimination, the life insurance policy with my forged signature, the bank records showing $50,000 stolen from our joint accounts. I testify on day 3. Alice Thornton walks me through everything, the blackouts, the gaslighting, the moment I saw Marcus crushing pills, the coffee test, going to the police. "Why did you test the coffee?" she asks. "Why not just confront your husband?" Because every time I questioned him about anything, he made me feel crazy. He always had a reasonable explanation. I needed proof that wasn't just my word against his. I needed something objective, something he couldn't explain away. "And what did you think when you got the lab results?" "I thought," my voice catches, "I thought my husband had been trying to make me lose my mind. Or trying to kill me. Or both." Marcus's lawyer, a man named Robert Sterling, tries to make me seem paranoid on cross-examination. "Isn't it true that you have a history of anxiety, Mrs. Chen?" "I've had anxiety, yes, like millions of people." "And isn't it possible that your anxiety, combined with grief over your mother's death, made you interpret innocent actions as sinister?" "My husband's actions weren't innocent. He drugged me systematically for 6 months and documented it in a notebook. That's not anxiety. That's reality. But you admit you were stressed, grieving, not sleeping well." "Because I was being drugged. The sleep problem stopped when I stopped drinking the coffee he made me. The blackouts stopped. The confusion stopped. That's not coincidence." The lawyer shifts tactics. "You and your husband were having marital problems, weren't you?" "Not that I was aware of. But he was having an affair. Doesn't that suggest problems in the marriage? It suggests my husband is a liar and a cheater." "That's not my fault. I can see the jury responding to me." A few nod. One woman in the front row looks angry on my behalf. The prosecution's star witness is Dr. Michael Porter, a toxicologist. He explains how Ambien works, how much was in my coffee, what effects it would have had. At the dosage found in Mrs. Chen's coffee sample, she would have been significantly impaired, confused, disoriented, with potential memory loss. At this dosage, administered daily over months, there's also risk of overdose, particularly if combined with alcohol or other medications. "Could this level of Ambien be fatal?" Alice asks. "Potentially, yes, especially if the person fell or injured themselves while impaired, or if the dose was increased incrementally. It's a dangerous game Mr. Chen was playing. The defense tries to argue that the coffee could have been contaminated accidentally, or that I drugged myself for attention, but they can't explain the notebook, the text messages, the multiple prescription bottles, the stolen money. The evidence is overwhelming," Sophie Brennan testifies, trying to save herself. She claims she didn't know Marcus was drugging me, that she thought his texts were metaphorical, that she believed he was getting a divorce. When he texted, "She'll be gone by summer," what did you think he meant? Alice asks on cross-examination. That they'd be separated by then. And gave her a double dose tonight. What did you think that meant? Sophie stumbles. "I didn't. I thought maybe he was talking about medication she was taking. I didn't realize." "You didn't realize that your married boyfriend was drugging his wife so he could steal her money and potentially kill her for life insurance?" Alice's voice is sharp. "Or you didn't care?" Sophie starts crying. The jury looks unmoved. On day 7, the defense rests without calling Marcus to testify. It's a smart move. His own text would destroy him on the stand. But it makes him look guilty, hiding behind his lawyer instead of defending himself. Closing arguments happen on day 8. Alice Thornton is brilliant, weaving all the evidence together into a damning narrative. Marcus Chen didn't just commit attempted murder. He committed psychological torture. For 6 months, he systematically drugged his wife, stole from her, gaslit her into thinking she was losing her mind, and planned her death, all while pretending to be a loving, supportive husband. This is not a case of marital discord or misunderstanding. This is calculated, premeditated evil. The defense tries to create reasonable doubt, but their arguments sound hollow against the mountain of evidence. The jury deliberates for 4 hours. When they return, I'm sitting in the front row between Lynn and Patricia. My hands are clenched so tight my nails cut into my palms. The forewoman stands. On the count of attempted murder, we find the defendant guilty. On the count of assault, we find the defendant guilty. On the count of fraud, we find the defendant guilty. On the count of making terroristic threats, we find the defendant guilty. On the count of conspiracy, we find the defendant guilty. 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 Each word is a vindication. Marcus's face goes white. Sophie, tried separately but watching from the gallery, starts sobbing. Lynn grabs my hand and squeezes. The judge sets sentencing for 3 weeks out. Marcus is led away in handcuffs, and this time he doesn't look at me. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarm. I make a brief statement, reading from notes Patricia helped me prepare. I'm grateful to the jury for seeing the truth. For 6 months, my husband tried to erase me. My mind, my memories, my life. He almost succeeded, but I trusted my instincts. I documented everything, and I fought back. To anyone in a similar situation, trust yourself. Document everything, and get help. You're not crazy. You're not overreacting, and you deserve justice. The clip plays on the evening news. Within hours, my phone is flooded with messages from women sharing their own stories of being drugged, gaslit, manipulated by partners. Some found justice, others are still trapped. I respond to as many as I can, offering advice, sharing resources, validating their experiences. The sentencing hearing is anticlimactic. Marcus gets 20 years for attempted murder, plus consecutive sentences for the other charges. He'll serve at least 17 years before parole eligibility. Sophie gets 7 years as an accessory. Mr. Chen, the judge says, you systematically poisoned your wife, gaslighted her, stole from her, and planned her murder. You showed no remorse, only anger at being caught. You are a danger to society, and this sentence reflects that. Marcus finally speaks. I'd like to address the court. The judge allows it, though Patricia whispers, this won't help him. Marcus stands. Looks at me. Nina, I'm sorry. I never meant for things to go this far. I got in over my head financially, and Sophie was pushing me, and I panicked. I never actually would have killed you. I just needed the insurance money to cover some debts. It's the most honest thing he's said in months, and it's still a lie. The notebook proves he was escalating dosages. The texts prove he and Sophie were planning my death together. He would have killed me. He just got caught first. Your apology is noted, but changes nothing. The judge says, take him away. 6 months after the trial, I'm sitting in a television studio in Manhattan. I've written a book about my experience, Gaslighted, How I Survived My Husband's Murder Plot, and it's been on the bestseller list for 3 weeks. I'm here to talk about it on a morning show. The host, a warm woman named Deborah Mills, asks thoughtful questions about gaslighting, about trusting your instincts, about the warning signs of abuse. What would you say to someone who thinks they might be in a similar situation? She asks. Trust yourself, I say firmly. If something feels wrong, it probably is. Document everything. Take photos, keep records, save messages, and talk to someone you trust, a friend, a family member, a therapist. Don't let anyone isolate you or convince you that you're crazy. You're not. You're seeing the truth. And what about recovery? How are you doing now? I'm still healing. I probably will be for a long time, but I'm also thriving. I left my job in accounting and started a consulting business helping fraud victims. I'm in therapy. I have an amazing support system, and I'm learning to trust people again, slowly. I pause. What Marcus did was horrible, but it also showed me how strong I am. I survived attempted murder. I can survive anything. The interview goes viral. The book sales spike. I get invitations to speak at domestic violence conferences, women's shelters, criminal justice panels. I become an advocate, using my experience to help others. A year after the trial, I'm keynoting a conference on domestic violence in Boston. As I'm preparing backstage, my phone buzzes. A text from Detective Ramirez. Thought you'd want to know. Marcus tried to appeal his conviction. Appeal was denied. He's not getting out early. Good. Let him sit in prison and think about what he did. Let him face the consequences of his actions. On stage, I tell my story to 800 people. The room is silent except for occasional gasps and murmurs. When I finish, the applause is thunderous. People stand. Some are crying. During the Q&A, a woman raises her hand. I've been having blackouts. My husband says I'm just stressed, but I think he might be drugging me. What should I do? My heart clenches. First, stop consuming anything he prepares. Food, drinks, anything. Make your own meals. Second, if you can safely do it, take a sample of anything you suspect is drugged and get it tested. Most pharmacies can do basic testing, or you can go to a lab. Third, document everything, dates, times, symptoms. And fourth, reach out for help. Call a domestic violence hotline. Talk to a doctor you trust. Go to the police if you feel safe doing that. You are not alone. And you are not crazy. She's nodding, tears streaming down her face. After the panel, she approaches me. Thank you. I've been thinking I was losing my mind. My husband keeps saying I'm paranoid, but I know something's wrong. Trust that feeling. Investigate it safely, and get out when you can. I give her my card. Email me. I'll help however I can. She clutches the card like a lifeline. I watch her walk away and hope she'll be okay. Hope she'll be brave enough to do what I did. That night, back in my hotel room, I think about where I was a year ago. Sitting in a police station, terrified and shaking, unsure if anyone would believe me. Now I'm an author, an advocate, a survivor who turned her trauma into purpose. Marcus tried to erase me. Instead, he gave me a platform. He tried to steal my life. Instead, he lost his own. He tried to make me disappear. Instead, he's the one behind bars while I'm free, successful, and stronger than ever. I open my laptop and check my email. Messages from survivors sharing their stories, thanking me for speaking out, asking for advice. Each one represents someone who might not have known they were being abused, might not have trusted themselves to act, might not have believed they could survive. I respond to each one personally. It's late, but this matters. These people matter. My phone buzzes. A text from Lynn. Saw your keynote on the live stream. You were amazing. Mom would be so proud. I think about my mother, who died right as Marcus was starting his plan. Did he accelerate things after her death? Thinking I'd be more vulnerable? Probably. But he underestimated me. He thought grief would make me weak. Instead, it made me fight harder. I survived losing my mother. I wasn't about to let him destroy me too. I text back. Thanks. Love you. Love you too. See you Sunday for dinner? Wouldn't miss it. I close my laptop and look out the hotel window at the Boston skyline. Somewhere in Connecticut, Marcus is in a cell, his carefully planned life in ruins. Sophie is too, serving time as his accomplice. And I'm here, in a hotel room after giving a keynote speech about survival and strength. Justice isn't always perfect. The system isn't always fair. But this time it worked. This time, the person who tried to gaslight me into silence got caught by his own arrogance. He documented his crimes in a notebook, texted his mistress about the murder plan, left a trail of evidence because he was so confident I'd never figure it out. He was